I'll look at your letter later. Hey, we're gonna wrap this chapter. I don't know how much of this chapter is left. How many notes do you have left? 10 slides. Oh, we're nowhere near in North America, that slide. Okay. Oh no, we're almost done. Okay, so we'll definitely do our test on Monday, kids.
No, Tuesday.
Is this a love letter written for ants? I can't read that. I'll look at it later. Okay, we're gonna talk about greenhouse gases in North America. Now, somebody please ask me, Mr. Kawaja, who decided we should learn this? Somebody ask me that. You're actually so lame, kids.
What?
Somebody asked me, who decided we should learn this in grade 9?
Probably Melvin.
No, ask me the question.
Who decided we should learn this?
That's such a good question. I'm so glad you asked.
Thank you.
I honestly don't know why.
Oh.
I don't know who. Ask me, why do you think they did that?
Why do you think they did that?
That's such a great question. I'm so glad you asked. Beats me because, quite frankly, this is all like mumbo jumbo stuff to you. Like, what do you kids really know about emissions? What is an emission? Have you learned this in science yet?
Like when Elvis breathes, he's emitting CO2.
When you breathe out. When you breathe out as well. Right? And like, if we're talking about emissions in this classroom, you put out a lot of emissions. You're always talking.
Have you ever laid on Melvis?
Why would I do that? That's so
It's
strange.
an experience. He is.
Please, let's keep it PG,
You
okay?
have like 8
Look, she's in this room. She's like 12 years old.
You have like 8 guys.
I'm 13.
Whoa, 8 people. Whoa.
I was one of them.
Whoa.
I'm 13.
Okay. Man, you're asking to move, not asking me to move. Like, these notes are important. What are emissions? Like what does that mean to you? You know, does that really have a direct impact on your life? Maybe something being released, right? A pollutant. Right? Look at you cranking your head around, like trying to get around the notes. Don't you wish that I almost stood on that side?
What?
Or you're wishing right now that I would stand here and teach so you can see the board clearly.
Yeah.
Right? But it's funny to watch your head do this and this. How do you read the board when your head is like this? I'm just messing with you. Okay. Anyways, so the United Nations has asked people to reduce their emissions, which, as we discussed yesterday, hey, all of human life, all of Mr. Thinker's thoughts take time and energy to take emissions, right? So the thinker couldn't think and speak on his thinking, and the philosopher couldn't philosophize without releasing emissions.
What about the woodworker?
Right?
What about the woodworker?
Well, I don't know who that is. We don't need to talk
Mason
about
Curtin.
that.
Mason Curtin's not bad, man. Mason Curtin is the woodworker.
That's funny. So everything humans do, right? So keeping your house warm, getting to school, the food you consume, the clothes you wear, all this stuff releases emissions. Okay. And so, you know, to provide you an additional perspective, you know, you got to consider when people and countries are asked to reduce emissions, one of the asks is, hey, be less productive, like produce less things. Which might be okay for us to do because, you know, fortunately we live in a very wealthy country, right? Like we have clean water. We have, like, look at that, like everybody take a look at that guy, like cutting the grass. Like what a luxury. We pay somebody to drive this giant machine. We pay that person very well to just cut grass. Not a very fulfilling job, but he gets paid very well, okay? You know, we have enough money and resources to pay people to sweep our streets, to keep things clean, to keep things running and functioning well. As much as you kids hate the Wi-Fi and how it doesn't connect, and quite frankly, I don't like how my cell phone, like, it doesn't connect to the internet either, or, you know, on data. It's crazy.
I'll fix it.
Right? Sure, things sometimes might not be the greatest, but they're pretty damn good. Right? And we're lucky. And all of this stuff that we do produces emissions. So it's very complicated to have this conversation of how to reduce emissions. Now, let's say you went over to a country in the world that's not very well off, which may be hard for you to understand, right? But let's say, like, you know,
Brazil.
Well, some parts of Brazil, particularly in the north, are terribly well off. Like, the people are very poor. That's why they tend to vote for political parties that are more left-leaning because those parties will give more money. They always promise money and resources to the people with less, right? So, imagine you were a child born to a family in a country where people couldn't afford to have 3 meals every single day. You know, there's just not enough jobs. There's not enough of an economic production. There's not enough going on. Okay. Imagine you live in a country where when it gets cold, you can't afford to pay for the to heat your house. However they do that, because again, you just can't afford it, and your country isn't productive enough. Potentially, it hasn't become industrialized, which again is a concept that may not make sense to you. It doesn't really necessarily relate to your life, but I guess one way to put it is like you have a buffet and you're allowed to eat from this buffet, and you're telling your friend on the other side who's not part of the buffet, like, hey, look how full your plate is, pal. Like you shouldn't overfill your plate, but you have a buffet where you have all these choices. And that's kind of like what this conversation is, because most of these countries, so developing countries and underdeveloped countries, who are being told to reduce their emissions, their people are suffering the most and would benefit the most by utilizing that energy to increase production, to increase the economy, to give their people more opportunities. Yes.
What country gets cold?
What country gets
Canada.
cold?
Cold.
Cold. Well, cold is relative, right? So when I was in Israel, like in summer, in the heat of summer, sometimes it's close to 40 degrees. In winter, it's 20 degrees. It's a 20-degree difference. So 20 to us is still pretty warm. Like the countries closest to the equator, the center of the earth, I believe that's how they refer to the equator. Like they say the warmest. But even then, they have their seasons. Like my brother lives in Ecuador, which is right by the equator. When it goes to the rain season, like they're very cold. My brother and his sister were here like a month ago. They were wearing winter jackets when it's like 10, 15 degrees. It's very cold for them. Right? It's people from our countries as well, same thing. It's very cold. It's relative. For us, like we think cold is minus 30 or minus 40.
For them, it's like -1.
Like someone from Pakistan or India, if you put them in minus 40, they'd die.
Dude,
Like absolutely, right?
that
Because
was me first.
right, because they're used to potentially plus 50 weather, which might kill some of you, right? In case you're laughing at them for their problems. So mentioning again Bjorn Lomborg, a lot of his work relates to this international deals. So let's say we all say, okay, we'll reduce our emissions. Well, for a rich country, for a country that has a diversified economy, what I mean by that is their economy has, or the way they make money, there's multiple ways that they make money, right? So for most of us, we have a job, that's how we make money. We have one job, right? Some people might have a business on the side, some people have an investment, some people have other things going on, they make money from a variety of ways. Well, for the countries that are underdeveloped, they might have to release a lot of emissions to industrialize their economy, to give people jobs. And so countries like China and India produce a lot of emissions. Okay. And significantly more than Canada. Canada, I believe, only emits 2% of emissions globally. So even if we were to crucify ourselves and say, we won't burn gas anymore in our cars, we love the environment, well, it really doesn't have a big impact on the global scale, right? But what's been observed, and Bjorn Lomborg's work looks into this, is that as people get wealthier, they actually care more about the environment. As a country gets wealthier, then they start establishing more laws to protect their forest, to protect their nature, to protect their air quality, right? But the thing is, if you're starving, you're not worried about any of those problems, right? Like, think about it. Even when there's a lot of pollution, you can still breathe in and you'll be all right. You'll be okay. But going 2, 3, 4, 5 days without food, or for us in a very wealthy country, going like a day, a couple hours without food, really bothers us. So when you have no money, when you have no prosperity, nothing good going on, it's very hard to care about the environment. So this guy doesn't care about the environment. Look at all this plastic he's ripping up. Hope you throw that out.
He's saying no through
Be
his
better
eyes.
than your brother. Yeah, he's saying no through his eyes. He's saying, watch me throw it on the floor. He knows it's true. Be better than your brother. 'Cause your brother always threw his stuff out. So I do think it's important to continually fund research into new technology, into more efficient forms of energy. One thing that people who are very pro-environmentalism are against is nuclear energy, which essentially produces no emissions. They say that, oh, it's dangerous, it could like blow up or whatever, or look at these bad examples, look at these other examples where nuclear reactors went wrong, but nuclear energy is actually quite safe. So does anyone recall Fukushima? Does anyone know what this is? It's a nuclear reactor. It was near, I believe it was on the coast of Japan. But a lot of people say, oh, like, there's two main ones. They look at the one in the Soviet Union. There's a show that came out about this nuclear reaction. Chernobyl. Anybody seen the show? All right. You've seen the show, that's good. Chernobyl was a nuclear power plant in part of Soviet Russia that
What? What's in Ukraine?
it was under the Soviet Russian rule, right?
Yeah.
And the show highlights, and I believe this is true, I'd have to look into the actual background information, but the show highlights two main things. One, that nuclear reactor was created and set up in a way that just in case they could actually convert it into a bomb, I think. So it was bad technology from my understanding. Two was that the show highlights this very well. As the nuclear reactor is failing and things are going terribly wrong, the government officials are trying to make sure, hey, don't tell anybody that this is going wrong, because they're worried that it will make the Soviet Union look bad, the communism look bad, right? So that's part of why that reactor went poorly. Fukushima, on the other hand, if you recall, there was an earthquake in the region, and actually, so I was in Japan a couple years after, and I talked to my relative there, and he was a couple 100 kilometers away, like 200-300 kilometers away, and he recalls like he was driving one day and the traffic was stopped in front of him, and he recalls like not understanding why it was stopped, and he's like, I looked out the window and I saw a building shaking. He's like, I didn't understand what was going on, so I got out of my car, and then he was telling me like, yeah, the whole ground was shaking, he like almost fell over. Right, so he felt this earthquake quite a bit away. So there's a massive earthquake in this region. The earthquake then caused a tsunami, like there was a big tidal wave that came in. And more people actually drowned in that event, particularly, let's say, at the reactor, but in Japan, more people died from the earthquake and the tidal wave than from the reactor itself. And so that was just a complicated issue of, you just built this reactor at a very terrible location, right? And so that was the problem. But generally speaking, nuclear energy, particularly more modern versions of it, are very much safe, and they produce little to no emissions. The amount of nuclear waste is not as much. I was listening to this one guy talk about this. It's not as much as people think, and it's something that can be managed and dealt with. But many environmentalists are against it because of like the fact that radioactive waste, you really can't do anything with it for thousands of years, right? So, we're seeing solar panels here, which, yeah, it's great, like harvest the energy from the sun, but the issue with that is, where do you think they get all the minerals and the materials needed to make these solar panels? Are we resourcing all of that material ethically? And additionally, like all of this stuff comes from the ground, you have to mine it up. That's also very harmful to the environment. So think of this, it almost strikes me as like the Tesla. It's like, hey, we feel good because we're using solar panels, and yippee, look at us, we're being energy efficient. But if you were to look at the process behind how that solar panel is made, it's probably just as harmful as the oil and gas industry when they dig up fossil fuels for us to use. Now the thing is, the lifespan of these solar panels, might not be that long. I was just chatting about this with my friend yesterday about Teslas. Same thing with Teslas. Like, it might take a Tesla, like he's looked into this more than I have, but a lot of Teslas that are 5, 10, 15 years old, I don't even know how many Teslas are 15 years old, but once that battery dies, it's just too expensive to replace the battery for most people. So the Teslas end up getting scrapped, right? Whereas, like I drive a car from 2007. So, what year were you kids born? 2008. So my car's older than you kids. And it'll keep going for a couple more years. What's that? Yeah, but your car's older than you as well, right? So, the other class we talked about planned obsolescence, which is something you'll look into chapter 8. But do we understand what the word obsolete means? When something becomes obsolete?
Really old.
Not old, right? My God, can't believe you just disrespect so many people like that. Obsolete is something useless. So let's say you're old and you have some degenerate disease, so you just can't do anything. I probably shouldn't say that. Okay. What happened?
He laughed.
At you?
No, I said old people having diseases.
Hey, that's when you get diseases, right?
Yeah. Why did you think of that?
Okay. So yeah, a lot of these are. Did we do the marketing stuff in this class? No, that was the other class. Okay. These are glittering generalities. They're selling you this idea that you'll save the world, you'll fix the world, you'll do something for the world by just buying a solar panel. But if you look into it, also look how dangerous this is. This guy could just fall off. And apparently a lot of people get injured installing and cleaning solar panels, which is really funny. So, a lot of what I've looked into, the first thing you should do is make sure that people are burning more efficient fuel. So make sure that in the third world, the poorer parts of the world, let's say, they're not burning trees, because that's terrible. How many of you had a campfire? Right? How many of you experienced this phenomena where the smoke always ends up in your eye no matter where you sit? Now imagine if you had a fire in a house. It'd be terrible, right? You're breathing that in. Okay? So utilizing better, like a campfire fire, not like a fire. Okay? So utilizing better, more efficient forms of fuel, and then innovating technology as much as we can. Okay? I actually, if you watch my video from the Block B class, I actually stated that I hate these light bulbs. But you can watch that video. Okay. Oh, there's another sentence here.
No, I didn't say it.
What's happening on this side of the classroom again? Now you're part of this
Bro,
problem.
you gotta ask me what's wrong. Wait.
I'm not asking you what's wrong.
What?
Ask me what's wrong.
Ask him what's wrong.
Oh.
You
I'll do it. I'll do it one more time.
you don't have that privilege, my guy. You gotta solve your own
Bro, ask
problems.
me what's wrong.
Go back. You should have been paying attention.
Ask me what's wrong. Everything that you saw. Fair.
What are you doing over here? Why are you drawing on it? What are you
Ready
drawing
and
on?
me.
I think you need your
Just
inhaler.
ask me what's wrong.
I think you need your inhaler.
Just
I think
ask
that's
me
what's wrong.
Trust me.
Oh, you can play that
What's
game.
wrong?
Jacob.
I don't know.
I don't really want to talk about this slide. Let's just skip on ahead.
You don't go
Oh, what I will say about the Kyoto Protocol and other such international agreements is that sometimes what they do, and it's a really bad strategy, is that they apply such a difficult standard that people feel real good. They're like, man, we signed that document. Man, we got the votes. Our political party's in power again because we promised the NPCs that we do something about climate change. But the demand is so extreme that the countries don't end up doing it anyways. And I think that's been very true of the Kyoto Protocol and the associated protocols with it that deal with addressing emissions issues regarding climate change, right? And so think about it this way, it's like let's say you're sitting at a 40% and your parents say, we're gonna take your phone away.
Why'd you look at me?
We're gonna take your phone away until your grades get to 100%.
Okay, what's the point of getting it?
Well, okay, so they're hold on, that's good.
You shoot for an 80.
The thinker's thinking,
Because
kids.
you go into the next school and you're at the same level as someone like on 100.
Right? So let's say, are you kids familiar with net zero policies?
No.
Have you heard of this? Net zero, or zero emissions, right? Some governments are promoting this idea that we should have net zero carbon emissions. Like we shouldn't produce any carbon, which is absurd. Like how do you get to complete zero? How do you reduce everything when you have the thinker over here busy thinking?
He's not busy.
You know what?
What is happening back there? Are you burning this glue stick?
No.
What was the last?
You gotta watch.
You should have been paying attention.
The protocol.
You want
Fine,
to
you can go
fly?
back to the.
Go back.
You can go back into the video.
It's not.
Okay, so again, on the flip side, like if you're sitting at a 40% and your parents take away your phone and ground you and like put you in a shoe closet like they did to Harry Potter, she's having flashbacks over there. And they say, hey, take your grade from like your 40 to 100%. Do you think that's possible? No. And getting 100% is very, very difficult, especially across the semester. And so what do you think is going to happen in that circumstance? Instead of studying hard every single day, what would you end up doing? You'd cry, you'd rebel.
I study hard every day.
That's a lie.
Okay, it is.
Unless you're talking about studying Rainbow.
I don't
Rainbow
know
Six, is that the
Mortal
game you
Kombat
played?
is Actually.
You play Mortal Kombat so you can do better in your fight club, hey?
I'm so good at Mortal Kombat. Jacob, how does he know this? How does he know what the game's
Hey, look at that. This slide says exactly what I was just saying. So, the liberal government, it's like, hey, let's do this, right? People love climate change stuff. We support the climate change, check mark, right? And then the requirements are so challenging. Be more like her. Just do your notes in your own time.
I don't have my own time.
No, you should have aimed the other way.
We all have the same 24 hours.
I was up
I'm
until
joking,
4
I'm
a.m.
joking.
last night planning a scout meeting. I'm tired.
Just show up and say, listen kids, I didn't plan a scout meeting. What should we talk about? You gotta improvise. Right? You're an actor, aren't you? Right, you gotta improvise. But listen kids, what's wrong? And when they start going on and on about their life problems, say, hey, listen, I meant what's wrong about the scouts, not your life. Right? Tell them like, hey, take that personal stuff. Tell them, hey, take that to your therapist. Anyways, so the liberals, and listen, political parties buy votes in different ways. They buy votes in different ways, right? So like, I think one thing that, what's his face, the old guy with dementia, Biden, yeah. Yeah, Joe Biden, right? So like one thing his government did was they're like, hey, we're gonna cancel all student debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? What else did he say? Something so racist. He said, I swear to God, he said this. He's like, if you don't vote for, like he was talking to the black community of America. He says, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? So messed up, right? He's trying to buy votes. Okay?
Did you vote for him?
Well, I'm not American.
Are you black?
Oh.
Like, that was the stupidest question ever.
You're not black if you didn't vote for Joe Biden.
According to Joe Biden, right?
It's Joe Biden.
Yeah. What? Anyway, so I don't know what the conservative government did, but let's say you have a government that says, hey, we're gonna follow these restrictions, we're gonna reduce our economy, we're gonna do a bunch of these things, and then let's say your parents lose their job. Do you think your parents are gonna vote for that again?
No.
Oh, right. Like, let's say, like, you kids keep saying that I'm the only teacher that does the cell phone policy.
No.
No.
So you were lying to me. Oops.
He does.
Barely. He lets
Yeah,
me keep it in his
Okay.
backpack.
But like,
Malacca,
you still show up here every day,
I do not.
knowing that you'll have to put away your cell phones.
No. Oh,
Right.
Here, yeah.
You could be like the grade 12s, you could protest.
Okay.
And I feel like that was a lot.
I feel like you couldn't fight all this at once. Like, think about it. You could just like
Yeah, but I'd get a couple of you real good.
name one person.
Right there.
No, I already know self-defense.
Looking right at him.
I like.
So, naturally, you know, there's always going to be these shifts in politics from one side to the other, depending on how the crowd, the mob of people feel. And clearly, it seems like, for a variety of reasons, the Canadian people did not like that Liberal government. So the next election, they voted in the next government. One of the main issues probably was signing this Kyoto Protocol, or the efforts taken to reduce emissions and to potentially reduce and stifle the economy by doing so. Somebody fart? Are you covering your nose? You know, for a variety of reasons, then the politics shift, right? And this tends to go back and forth. Like, we had a Liberal government for a couple of years. I think it's very likely we'll have a Conservative government following next. I mean, Trudeau didn't get enough seats for a majority party anyways in the last election. And I think things have only gotten worse for his party since, so I really don't think that they'll win, but you know, we'll see. Oh, there's another sentence. Look at this bear Mountie wiping his butt with a Kyoto Protocol. Jeez, what are you doing down there? It's so weird.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
We should face.
Did somebody throw a paper airplane? I swear I saw something hit the outside.
Maybe you're just delusional.
No, it's delirious.
Delulu. We should
Delulu's
FaceTime
not even a
Evan
word.
right now.
What's that?
We should FaceTime Evan. So he doesn't-
FaceTime, do it. Oh no, never mind, your phone's away.
You get.
Oh, you can do it later. I wanna see how much is left. Ah, just a couple of slides. Oh, that's perfect. Why'd this just shift away? Okay, Will, let's go. Okay, we'll wrap this up. We'll wrap this up real quick.
Oh, you can see that.
Okay. Now, given all that talk about the other perspective, because your textbook gives one perspective really well, how do we both make sure that humans, the economy, like, how do we make sure your life is good, but that the life of all other living species is good as well? This group, you're gonna ask me to, oh, can you please go back? None of you are taking your notes right now. You're all just
We're already
playing
ahead.
handsies.
We're ahead.
You gotta think about this.
You're using my.
Cheater,
What's up?
What if Evan dies before I can FaceTime him? And that was like you were the reason.
Then you'll live your life in honor of it.
No. What if
Okay. How do we protect the ecosystem? How do we make sure our water is protected, that our forests are protected and safe, right? Because for those of you who do outdoorsy stuff, look, she's like knocked out, she's dreaming.
She's
Oh, never mind. She just has her head down in her notes. For those of you who go and do outdoor stuff and enjoy the environment and the good outdoors, you know, wouldn't you like your children and their children to have that as well, the next few generations?
What do you mean? Oh.
Right? Like, how do we balance economic productivity with protecting the environment?
No.
What are we doing over there?
She's using sanitizer and like she's like
No.
putting it on my head for like every 2 seconds.
He's doing that to me.
Why, girls? Have you tried crime?
Have I tried crime?
Crime.
Crying? For what?
The drink?
Oh, prime.
It's
I heard
so
crying.
bad. It's so bad.
No. I heard it was terrible. I actually recently discovered this drink. It's called Roar.
What?
Roar Organic. I quite like it. No, you may not have
See how waterfall.
No.
You
But I was not feeling well the last couple of days, so I went out to the supermarket to find something with lots of vitamin C but little sugar.
I need vitamin C, so
And this was one of the things I stumbled upon. I'm quite grateful because everything else in the superstore, the market, just is loaded with sugar. Kids, like, how much sugar is in that Gatorade?
Not Gatorade.
Oh, Powerade, same thing. How much sugar is in that? There's no way you don't know how to read a nutrition label. Okay, how much sugar is in the Sunny D? No. What? 28 grams?
What?
Can I see?
There's 34. 28 grams.
28 grams of sugar. And what's the serving size?
I'm actually.
Wait, what?
532 milliliters,
That's what my school internet. My school accounts.
which is the bottle.
You did.
Like, okay, so
What?
mine has 3 grams of sugar
I roast like you.
per 532 milliliters, right? And the whole bottle is 532 milliliters, right? So I'm trying to find a drink that has a lot of vitamin C but not a lot of sugar, because sugar's bad for you, like makes me sick.
You're sure. I'm not giving you your number.
What?
I'm not.
Oh, I'm cured.
I'm not giving you your number.
I'm so cured. I'll just drink water. Water doesn't have vitamin C in it. No way. You want your health to go downhill?
My health is already like rough bottom.
Yeah. What's up?
You should try.
I love how you've been holding your arm for so long that you need to support.
They should ignore me.
I wasn't ignoring you. I was having a conversation over here.
Orange Kool-Aid.
Orange Kool-Aid. It's probably the second ingredient is probably sugar. The first ingredient is probably water.
You get add a little bit extra. Because like if you get it like in the pouch, they put like.
You said 2 slides.
Well, I said we'll do a couple more slides. You know, I just say things. I'm not an LA teacher. I know it was an experiment. How did it go? Who was in my LA class? Did I teach anyone here LA? No one. No. Maybe well, one student, but she's gone now. She doesn't go to the school. What does this slide say? This slide says that the sickness is coming back, and Mr. Kawaj is about to shut down. It's terrible. Why would you say that? Oh, I wish I could just take a nap as well. Take a nice little cat nap in the middle of class.
We went for you.
I wonder what your parents would think if they found out you were sleeping in class. Yeah? Are you sure? Which class? This one? Now we have you on tape. We have the evidence. What else is there?
Who's the last name?
Why are we talking about this stuff? It's not Catholic.
Jack said that Melvis is lesbian.
Of
I
course.
stand up for Melvis's rights. I'm solid ignorant of Melvis.
Yo, so.
I just started watching that show a while ago.
It's so slow.
I just finished the
Breaking
first
Bad,
season.
like it's like Breaking Bad. El Camino.
You didn't like El Camino?
It's so bad. back.
What do you mean? Jesse finally, that's his name, right? Jesse, yeah,
Yeah.
Jesse finally gets his freedom, no?
Yeah, who needs freedom when you have drugs?
Damn, they left him as a slave at the end of Breaking Bad.
No, Walter took one for him. Walter,
Oh yeah, Walter frees him, yeah.
yeah, but then he dies. He will trade off. Just kidding, Walter lives.
The show's like 7 years old, 10 years old.
Yeah, you should watch it.
Okay, it is 1:46. When does your class end?
203.